What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Mile High Hockey. Mike and Will with you as always. Mike, got to talk about what happened Tuesday night in Buffalo with the Avalanche. Down 4-0 before you even blink. Georgie's got to make the walk of shame, the skate of shame again as he gets benched yet another time this season. In comes Scott Wedgwood, and the Avalanche come storming back. 4 goals in the third period, win 5-4. Is this a glass half full or half empty victory? Hey, half full, big comeback. Yeah. Half empty, you were down 4-0 and Georgiev got benched again.
Yeah, there is a bittersweet feeling about this game. To me, it's almost like you won the battle, but I still feel like you're losing the war. And yeah, it was a great comeback. And yes, it showed that this team has some grit and some guts. But it was another example of the goaltender putting them in a tough hole.
Yeah.
They were able to dig out of this one, but you just can't keep expecting to do it. And this goaltending issue just continues to hover like a dark cloud over this hockey team. And I think it's really hard to feel optimistic about where this team can go with the kind of goaltending they're getting. Now, I understand that they won a Stanley Cup with goaltending. Mediocre.
Yes.
There's a difference between mediocre goaltending and bad goaltending and just completely unreliable goaltending. And unfortunately for the Avs right now, I think it falls too much in that latter category.
Oh, definitely. And Scott Wedgwood came in and was great, right? But you and I aren't going to sit here today and go, oh, Scott Wedgwood's the answer. Right. He's a backup. That's what he did. He came in, he stopped the bleeding, they got the win. Maybe it was a good trade. Maybe we'll look back at it 6 months from now and say, yeah, that was an upgrade at backup goalie, but it's not the answer in net. So let's talk about this. I wrote about this at denversports.com after the Avs game on Tuesday night that Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland have to make a trade, Mike. They just have to make a trade for a goaltender. Now, I understand you're not going to get a solid goaltender for Georgie straight up with the way he's playing. Some of the names I said is maybe you attach a Ross Colton or an Ivan or a Kovalenko in a trade like that. I said Mikko Rantenen is untouchable. Now, that being said, there are some folks that are saying Mikko wants $14 million a year. He may walk for nothing after this season. I'll just ask you the $1 million question. Would you include Mikko Rantenen in some sort of blockbuster trade for a mega upgraded goaltender?
Absolutely not. This is a guy who's one of the top 10 players in the NHL. And you also have to look at what the value you'd be giving up for the value that the NHL makes very clear how they feel about goaltenders. I was looking it up. Do you realize that since 2000, the year 2000, we're talking about 25 years, basically, of NHL drafts. Only 13 goalies have been taken in the first round since 2000. Of the top 30 highest paid players in the NHL this year, 2 goaltenders. You got Vasilevsky of Tampa at 23rd out of 30, and you got Bobrovsky of Florida at 17th. That's it.
Wow.
So it's funny, isn't it, that for a position that we all would agree is very important, the NHL doesn't seem to place the same kind of value on goaltenders. So when it comes to acquiring a goaltender, you're certainly not going to be dangling Mikko Rantenen to go out and try to get a goaltender.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was on the drive last night with Zach By and Philip Lindsay, and they were saying we would trade Mikko Rantenen for Igor Shesterkin.
No.
And I just can't. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to go there. Mikko Rantenen rolls out of bed and has 100-point seasons. Right. You just can't give up on, oh, they're asking for too much money. We can't pay him for more than Nathan MacKinnon. Trading Mikko Rantenen would be signifying blowing up this core. What do you think about my names? What do you think about a Kovalenko, an Ivan, or a Ross Colton if you had to attach them with a Georgiev to add an upgrade at goaltender?
Now we're talking. Yeah. Now you start bringing in the kind of conversation that I'm willing to have. But it ends right away if you're talking about Rantenen.
Yeah, and remember, they traded Bowen Byram last year, and a lot of fans were surprised. He was sort of that fringe type of guy you would trade. I think Ivan Kovalenko. I mean, who are the untouchables on this team, Mike? MacKinnon, Makar. We both agree Rantenen, Nichushkin, probably Lehkonen, Taze. Those are kind of the 7 that I'm just not willing to play ball with. Anyone else on the roster? It's kind of like Byram. You got to be looking at it.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about some of the news from yesterday. This Four Nations tournament continuing to gain a little bit of steam, Mike. We knew that Makar, MacKinnon, and Rantenen would represent Canada and Finland. Makar and MacKinnon, Canada, and Rantenen, Finland. Lehkonen joins Rantenen on Team Finland. Taze joins the boys on Team Canada. As we'll have 5 guys in this tournament that goes on 9 days in February, replacing the All-Star game, your level of excitement for in-season tournaments, much like the NBA Cup?
Zero. I just can't get excited about it. And I'm sorry, as a hockey fan, if you want me to feign excitement over it, okay, I'll do it. But I can't. I don't like the NBA Cup. I don't like this four-nation face-off. To me, it is a transparent, artificial attempt to try to pump up interest in a too long regular season during the dog days of the hockey season. It's a money grab, whatever you want to call it. Now, some people said, well, at least, this is different because it's not just regular season games like it is with the NBA. This is worse because it's extra games on top of what you're already asking Makar, MacKinnon, Rantenen, all the heavy lifting that they do for the Avalanche. Now you're adding more games on. So we talk about the idea of, come playoff time, could we see signs that there's some fatigue going on with the Avalanche? Well, you could point back to this worthless tournament. It's a worthless tournament. And I've had some people try to tell me, well, it's kind of like the Olympics. No, it's not. The Olympics are the Olympics. Okay, you win an Olympic gold for USA, you win Olympic gold for Canada, it's something you remember for the rest of your life. You honestly going to tell me that if Nathan MacKinnon wins this Four Nations face-off for Canada, he's going to look back on this as one of the shiny moments in his career? Of course not. It's a joke, and I think it's a dumb idea, although I understand why they're doing it.
Man, you and I are on the same page a lot today. Sometimes not always the case, but we agree on this.
Bright minds.
Bright minds. And I think, too, I don't want to be having the conversations in May. Why is MacKinnon dragging? Because of those extra 9 days in February. The one thing I will say about this tournament, and I guess I have to give the NHL a little bit of credit, all the top dogs want to play in it, right? We see these times where these guys are like, I don't really want to play in an all-star game, or I'm going to opt out of this, or I'm going to opt out of that. Like, making the roster for Team Canada was uber competitive. A guy like Matt Duchene openly campaigned he wanted to be on it. He got left off yesterday. Yeah. That's my only counterpoint, is if you're a serious cup contender, you are going to have 2, 3, 4 guys playing in this tournament. That said, I can't imagine I'm sitting on the edge of my seat watching Team Canada and Team Finland battle for the championship.
And let's face it, if you're Joe Sakic, if you're Chris McFarland, if you're every Avalanche fan out there, you're going to be holding your breath while they're playing these games, worried that something's going to happen. And, and I go back to the Olympics again, it would be bad enough if during the Olympic break a key Avalanche player got hurt and wouldn't be able to play for the playoffs. At least you could kind of
justify it
by saying, well, it's the Olympics.
Yes.
The Four Nations face-off? Come on.
When I had to Google what this thing was called like 7 times when I was writing about it.
Yeah, I think I called it a cup or something along the way.
Exactly. That kind of just shows you it doesn't roll off the tongue like Olympics. Let's finish on this. We've learned this morning, Mike, we're here on a Thursday, that Scott Wedgwood will start tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. I guess not a surprise after what happened in Buffalo, but another message being sent to Georgiev like, dude, he came in and played great. We're going to ride the hot hand.
Yeah, it's 2 messages. It's one, let's do that. I think it's also another message that's being delivered. Jared Bednar talks about how, well, every once in a while you got to give Alexandar Georgiev that mental reset break.
Right.
Looks like we're doing it again, which is, again, another reason why I just don't think the Avalanche playoff goaltender is on their roster yet, Will. And who that guy is, I'm not sure, as long as it doesn't cost Mikko Rantenen to bring him here.
That's a perfect place to leave it, Mike. I agree with you. Mikko, untouchable. Avs and Hurricanes tonight. This East Coast swing continues. Apparently, Georgie needs another mental break. Oh. Mike and I will be back with a few number of games to definitely react to on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us for Mile High Hockey.